Desert Island Deathmatch. Desert Island Deathmatch. It's just a joke, but anyways, yeah, I might have to out.
Well, we don't like jokes here, Joe.
Okay, sorry. My name is Joe. These are just opinions. I am JOEpinionated. Today's another episode of Desert Island Deathmatch. Desert Island Deathmatch. Desert Island Deathmatch. With Jesse Olsen and the band today. It's the Beatles. John, Paul, George, Ringo, the Beatles. You've heard of them. You like them. You love them. Jesse, have you heard of the Beatles before we did this?
You told me about this podcast last week, and I did as much research as I could to kind of figure out the names. John, Paul, George, and what was his name?
The drummer. I can't
remember. Pete Best. I think it's Pete Best.
Growing up, I wasn't a big Beatles fan. They weren't on my radar really at all. I knew what was on the oldies radio station, CL 650 on the west coast of Canada here. Oddly enough, my parents didn't like the Beatles, and I didn't really discover the Beatles until after high school. It was kind of a two-pronged thing. It was the movie I Am Sam. This one had a really cool soundtrack, I Am Sam, and it was just a whole whack of Beatles covers on it. Had Amy Mann from Magnolia on there. It had a bunch of great covers. And then also around the same time, my friend Clint, massive Beatles fan, and I was getting back into playing the guitar with Clint, and he taught me a few Beatles tracks, and that was sort of I Should Have Known Better was the song that got me back into playing guitar after a few years. That's what got it going for me. How about you, Jess?
Yeah, different for me. Like from as long as I can remember, Beatles have always been a part of my life. It started with my Auntie Cass, at my grandpa's house. I remember like late 80s, 1988, 89, hanging out with her, and she would just be playing the movies, Help and Hard Day's Night on repeat. So I watched those, I want to say like 20 or 30 times, like when I was like 4 or 5 or 6. So those were the first songs that I got into. Obviously, Yesterday was all over Help, and Help was the one that I really heard all the time. So those songs, it's interesting now when you're making a list, those songs really have like a deep childhood connection for me. I hear them and I kind of get transplanted back to that time sitting in my grandpa's house on Honeysuckle Drive in Nanaimo, BC, and sitting there watching my aunt just love these tracks, love the Beatles, and kind of, Help was right before, they transitioned into Rubber Soul. So from that age and always, and then once again too, it's interesting that you brought up CIL 650, because that's what I grew up on as well too. My dad had that radio station on all day, every day, as soon as I get home from work. And he also played his collection of vinyl too. And so he had everything. He had Rubber Soul, he had Revolver, he had Abbey Road, he had Sgt. Pepper. So I was listening to all of those songs again and again. And they've pretty much been my favorite band since as long as I can remember. Beatles are everything to me. And like you said, I do want to point out, if you're watching this hoping for new information from the Beatles, we're not going to give you that. It's only going to be what we think, what we feel about this band that's affected so many people's lives.
So it's Desert Island Deathmatch. The way we're going to do it this time, Desert Island playlist. Normally what we do is a draft back and forth, favorite songs. We're usually building a list of 10 songs. It's the Beatles. To get us to actually finally do this podcast after roughly a year of humming and hawing about it is to make the list big. So we're both going to do 30 songs each on our playlist, draft style. Once a song's taken, you cannot take it again. And then at the end, we're going to get into the death match, which is eliminating songs from a master playlist. My dog Floyd in the background. Desert Island playlist. We're getting this going. Top 30 songs. What would we bring to our desert island with us? The Beatles. We could easily go. I think Jesse mentioned his list goes to 150. So he's not going to run out of any options here. It's going to be tough around song 30 to make that decision. The first few rounds are easy. Jesse, you're the youngest. You're going to go first pick for your Desert Island playlist. Round one.
I thought you were going to go first. And so that makes me happy because then that means my favorite Beatles song of all time is up for grabs. So please don't kill it. My first pick, my first song is from Revolver. It's a Paul song, and this is going to come up a lot. I'm a Paul McCartney guy through and through. I love every single one of them, but Paul's my guy. And this song is, I think, one of the saddest, most beautiful songs of all time. It's For No One from Revolver. And in her eyes, you see nothing, no sign of love behind the tears, cried for no one, a love that should have lasted years. You know, your day breaks, your mind aches. You find that all her words of kindness linger on when she no longer needs you. It's so sharp, and we can all relate to those moments when we're in our late teens or early 20s or whatever it is, and you think you have something and you think it's incredible, and it's ripped apart and you don't understand why. And that's what Paul's saying in this song, and it rips you apart every time you hear it. And it's just so beautifully done. It's so kind of calm and consistent. And then this beautiful French horn solo comes in the middle of this thing and just makes it so much more beautiful. So my number one song, For No One from Revolver, big Paul song. I do want to hear, like, when we pick songs, I want to know like where they were on your list.
That's
So,
number
like,
three. That's
oh,
number
wow.
three. That's page
Yeah.
one. Oh, dude, awesome. Revolver 1966. That one sung by McCartney. It's a Lennon McCartney collaboration, and it was my third pick. So I agree with you. For No One's a great song. You don't have to worry about that one at all. When we get to the death match, we're going to be killing off some of the other guys' picks. You don't have to worry about that one at all. My first pick, first round, I'm actually going to go off of Rubber Soul. And my favorite song on the album happens to be I'm Looking Through You. And so I've got that at number one, round one for me. This is in my top 10. I'm Looking Through You. I love the harmonies. Another McCartney lead on a Lennon McCartney collaboration. The lyrics are insanely great. Help is a big leap forward. So is Rubber Soul. So is Revolver.
It's number 9 on my list of 154. So great pick. I love that song. I'm Looking Through You. I always make fun of my wife. She really hate me saying this. Is sometimes like there's been moments in our time or whatever that like I'll look at her and she's looking back at me, and I feel I'm like, and I'll just start singing that at her, and she'll get so pissed off because she's just not paying, either looking right through me or not paying attention to me. Maybe we should cut that part. I don't know.
Round two.
So my second pick is probably my most sentimental pick. It's Golden Slumbers from Abbey Road. And very important too, before we started this with Joe, I said it's very important to me that the medley is not one song. We need to break them up because I got a lot of medley in mine. And they need to be talked about individually. Obviously, as a whole, they're absolutely insane. But my favorite part of the medley is Golden Slumbers from Abbey Road. It's the first song I sang to my son when he was born. It's a song that I sang to him almost every night for the first couple of years of his life. I still do. It's just this beautiful, incredible song. Paul found it in an old music book, years and years ago. He just found those lyrics and kind of changed them up and created the melody for them. My son's name is Harrison, obviously, George Harrison. I'd like to have gone McCartney, but it just doesn't have that same ring to it. But it was a nice way to honor them as well too. Golden Slumbers is my son and I's song. That's our song for sure. And so just that part, Golden Slumbers, fill your eyes, smiles awake you when you rise, sleep pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. It's Golden Slumbers, Abbey Road.
Golden Slumbers, awesome song. One of my wife's favorites for sure. Another big one off of that I Am Sam soundtrack for me because Ben Folds did the cover of it on there. My next pick for round two, Desert Island Playlist, Beatles. I'm going to the album Help. And their first big song, really, this is a Lennon lead, the first Lennon lead on this. Lennon McCartney, I'm going with Hide Your Love Away. Guess what was the main track on the I Am Sam soundtrack? It was Hide Your Love Away. It happened to be. But Hide Your Love Away was also on this guitar, one of the first songs I learned to play front to back when I got back into guitar. And thank you again, Clint, for that song. And then I actually got to go see Eddie Vedder's first solo show, which was in Vancouver. He wore the shirt that he wore for his first Pearl Jam show where he performed Hide Your Love Away, which at the time was one of my favorite songs. So that was really cool. Jesse, round three.
Third round.
My next choice, number 3, this is widely regarded, I think, as their masterpiece. I think you know what I'm going to say. It's A Day in the Life off of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. As far as like a Lennon McCartney collaboration, is as great as you could possibly get. It's literally sad, melancholic, pessimistic Lennon, and then upbeat, optimistic McCartney at the same time. I mean, he blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the light had changed. Is kind of their masterpiece, and it would be hard pressed to push it any further down my list. When you watch the Get Back documentary, though, it's weird because you do feel like you're there. You feel like you're sitting there, just like eavesdropping on greatness. They were all great solo. They're all great, but they needed each other. They did for like pure greatness. They really did, and whether it was like, hey, add this or take this out or don't leave this, they knew what to say. They knew what to push, how to push each other. And it was that collaboration of four minds with George Martin, obviously, that brought up the greatness in these people.
It was the pick after this one. It was pick number 5 for me. You can say these guys are the greatest of all time. They're certainly the greatest of the 60s. There's no question about that. My next pick, round number 3, and the song is Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds off of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I was very, very lucky in 2014, 10 years ago, to be in New York for the 50th anniversary of the Beatles being in New York. February, it was cold, and I got to go to David Letterman's theater, which used to be the Ed Sullivan Theater, during Beatles week, the same week, one day off of the actual day. And I got to see John Lennon's son, Sean Lennon, perform with the Flaming Lips this song, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I'm a bigger David Letterman fan than I am a Beatles fan, and I'll say that. I love David Letterman. That performance was unreal. Ed Sullivan Theater is very cold. The sound is incredible. Go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, what it came up for me, it's number 30 for me. So
Round number 4. Round number 4.
number 4 for me is my first pure Lennon song after watching the Get Back documentary. It really popped for me. It's not on an album. It should have been on the Let It Be album. It was on the Let It Be Naked album. It's a single from the Get Back sessions. B-side to Get Back, it is Don't Let Me Down. Don't Let Me Down is like just raw Lennon. And Lennon's usually like, the lyricist, and it's not the lyrics about this song. It's just it's the vibe. It's Billy Preston too, right? It's Billy Preston on the keys that elevates that, the fifth Beatle. But just watching him too in the documentary, watching like Billy and how that reinvigorated the group, and like seeing the reaction to him, like, man, what a cool element to that song. Don't Let Me Down.
The next one I'm going to the EP, this album, the soundtrack, a Lennon McCartney written track, is Your Mother Should Know. I absolutely love Your Mother Should Know. I love what it's all about. I love the lyrics. It's a very Paul song. Yeah. Some of those melodies have stuck with me for years. Your Mother Should Know is one of them.
Fifth round.
My next pick's also going to be from Magical Mystery Tour. This is a really controversial pick. You'll probably rip me apart for this one, but every time I hear this song, it's just a groove. It's just such a cool tune to just listen to.
I know what you're going to pick. Can I guess? All You Need Is Love.
Nope. It's Flying. Magical Mystery Tour. I love that song. There's no lyrics in it. It's just a groove. It's this badass bass line. It's just this beautiful kind of background vocals. It is just, whenever it comes on, it makes me feel happy. I love that song. I love that track. Super underrated, I think. Flying, Magical Mystery Tour.
Next up, I'm going with another one off of the greatest hits. This one goes out to my daughter because it's her favorite song, and she'll pull this record again off the shelf all the time so we can listen to Strawberry Fields Forever. And she came to me with that because I used to play Beatles lullabies, and that's what she would go to bed listening to for the longest time. And I pulled that from Tristan, who's also in this Desert Island thing or whatever. I saw him doing that years ago. I was like, she loves Strawberry Fields Forever, and so do I. Central Park, you get Strawberry Fields, and there's always a bunch of hippies sitting around, smoking joints, making daisy chains, and playing John Lennon tunes. And there's an energy there, and that's pretty cool because there's an energy to Lennon.
Number 23, Living is Easy with Eyes Closed, Misunderstanding All You See. It's
round number 6.
Number 6, Jesse.
Right. So this is my first one off of the Beatles, the White Album. My favorite song from this massive album of incredible songs, but also probably too many, is a Lennon song. It's Happiness is a Warm Gun. Happiness is a warm gun. What does that mean to you? Does that mean like he's just killed somebody? He's killed somebody who's done him wrong? Does that mean that killed himself or he's a murderer? What is it? Like, I've never really, I guess, looked into the true meaning of what that song is. It was sounded cool, right? Like when you're really young, like happiness is a warm gun. That sounds really cool.
I need the song on my desert island, the George Harrison classic off of Abbey Road. I'm going with Here Comes the Sun. Around the time I was kind of getting back into the Beatles, I was living in Taipei. In Taiwan, the locals give themselves English names. Oftentimes it's given to them by an English teacher at a young age. But this lady, she had given herself her own name, and the name she chose was Yoko because she loved the Beatles so much. And she loved Japan too. When I went to go work with her, she was working at a school and she was teaching the kids Here Comes the Sun. The kids were singing or trying to sing Here Comes the Sun. And it was just the most, to me, it was just the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. I was like, it was the cutest thing I'd ever seen. And it was just like, I thought it was just so cool. And this person, Yoko, was like, show me where the best beef noodle soup is, which is a very important thing in Taipei. And it was the best.
I don't think you've told me that story about Yoko before, but I love how like you said this sentence. You said she called herself Yoko because she loved the Beatles so much. Like that's kind of the antithesis of that.
I thought it that right
She
away.
called herself Yoko because she hated the fucking Beatles.
Round 7. Round 7.
Number 7 for me is my first from Help. As I mentioned before, important album for me, or movie and an album of my youth. Shout out Auntie Cass. And my song is I've Just Seen a Face. I love singing that song as well to my son. It's just this like fast I've Just Seen a Place. It just kind of goes and goes and goes, and it's done in like 2 minutes. Had it been another day, I might have looked the other way and I'd never been aware, but as it is, I dream of her tonight. It just has this beautiful cadence. It's almost Shakespearean. It just goes da 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 da. I've Just Seen a Face from Help. Number 7 for me.
And I'm going to Abbey Road again. And this time I'm going to take a piece of the end by taking She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. I mean, if I'm going to pick my favorite Beatles song, oftentimes I say this one.
Wow.
And also,
wow.
I really love Joe Cocker's cover of it. And I really loved Steven Tyler's cover of it at the Kennedy Center Awards. I thought that was just lights out, really effing good. That was kind of, honestly, it was Steven Tyler's performance, I think, at the Kennedy Center that really flipped me on it. But then I had it as my ringtone for a while as well. Anyways, go ahead.
Were you just winding me up about not about the medley though? Like, cause like, come on, like they're just like
round 8. Round 8.
I'm gonna jump ahead and take another medley song right now, just because I love the medley so much and I don't want to lose it. I'm jumping all the way ahead and I'm taking "You Never Give Me Your Money." Piano, Paul, that just turns this. It's kind of like we were arguing about this the other day about like Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey. Like it's just that kind of like it's slow and then it becomes two different things and it goes manic and Anyways, "You'll Never Give Me Your Money." From the Abbey Road medley, my second from the medley already, and I'll have one more.
That song, I wish that Paul, he's still here, please just write another verse, or maybe like finish all those songs or write one more verse for each one of those songs, and that'd be really cool to me because I love that song so much, and I wish it was a full song. I feel like it feels like part of a song.
Yeah. I feel you're exactly right. I think that's why it's high for me, but it's lower. It's because it does. Like in the medley, it does it almost feels like it's just like linking songs together. It almost feels like it's not, whereas Golden Slumbers and You Never Give Me Your Money kind of are these fuller pieces. It just kind of seems a little bit more transitional, but you're right. Like I would love to hear it. Paul, if you're listening to this and you're not, you never will.
Yeah.
Please write a second or third verse to "She Came In Through the Bathroom Window."
Or Ringo, man. Ringo, you do it. You're the coolest cat of all, honestly. I love Ringo's solo work too. I put it out there earlier, especially the Ringo album. I'm going to go off of Abbey Road, and this time I'm going to take the Lennon McCartney collaboration, Because it's a dreamy, pretty song. It's going to sound good on my island for sure.
It's round 9. It's round 9.
Coming to My Island, though, is the first time I'm picking my second song off of White Album, and it is Dear Prudence.
Damn it. Good one.
Fucking such an exceptional song. You know, Lennon's lyrics and double track vocals. But like the unsung hero of this track is McCartney again, man. McCartney's bass line in this song is so cool, so groovy. He actually plays the drums on this song too, because Ringo had quit the band at that point. Like he'd quit, he took off. He was pissed that I think Paul critiqued his drumming to like back in the USSR or something like that. And so he took off. And so Paul sat in and played the drums to this song as well, too. But you take, once again, Lennon's vocals, the lyrics, a beautiful song, that the cool story about Prudence Farrow, you know, with the Maharishi in India, Harrison coming in with the beautiful lead guitar. It is a perfect fucking song. Sun is up, sky is blue, it's beautiful, and so are you. Clouds will form a daisy chain. You were just talking about daisy chains like 5 minutes ago. So let me see you smile again. Dear Prudence, the Beatles, White Album.
From the White Album, Paul McCartney lead, Mother Nature's Son. Boy, oh boy, is it a good one. Jesse brought it up recently on our Harry Nilsson episode. Anyways, check out our episode on Harry Nilsson. Links in the description. We'll have these playlists of all these songs in the description as well. Like, comment, and share if you're watching at this point and you care. Jesse also went on the record and said that Harry Nilsson did it better. So, Paul, if you're around and you're watching, what do you think about that?
I think of this as just such a McCartney song. So knowing Mother Nature's Son is just this beautiful song. And I couldn't ever imagine anybody else singing this song until I heard Harry sing it. And Harry arguably sings it better. Paul McCartney, I love you. You're my hero. Don't be mad. Luckily, I have it on a different island. I have it on my Harry Nilsson island. I have Mother Nature's Son. There's nobody in the world that could sing that song better than Paul McCartney, other than Harry Nilsson, right? And but both of those guys sing that song just beautifully. What a beautiful song.
Round 10. Round 10.
Next to me is another maybe obscure pick a little bit. It is off of Yellow Submarine, and it's not what you think it's going to be, Joe. You're already giving me shit about a certain song not to pick that you feel is a little bit overrated, but the song for me is It's All Too Much.
Oof.
And it is a Harrison song, and if you're listening to this right now, stop what you're doing and go listen to It's All Too Much and tell me that's not a song that could come out right now. It is so ahead of its time. It's so unique and unlike anything that they did at that time. It sounds like Tame Impala or a band right now could put that out. It's just so weird and different, and it doesn't sound like it's from the late 60s. Floating down the stream of time of life with me makes no difference where you are, where you'd like to be. It's all too much. Yellow Submarine.
I did not see that coming, Jess. I'll be honest with you. That one was not on my radar. And I've never actually owned Yellow Submarine. I thought that it was only greatest hits and the orchestra. Then I didn't realize there's 4 songs in the middle that were not on other albums.
Hey Bulldog. And
when I started listening to the Beatles and like plowing through the albums, I listened to it all digital. So that one was not near the top, but you gave me a bit of a heart attack because my next song, I believe, does appear on Yellow Submarine. But it's off of Revolver. I'm going with Good Day Sunshine. This was a big one for me when my son was little. This one was getting played around the house a whole ton. When my son was born, that's when I was in a massive John Lennon phase. That's when I was like really just figuring out the Beatles solo records and stuff like that. And so this isn't a John Lennon song, but Good Day Sunshine, perfect little ditty.
11th round. 11th round.
Next song for me is going to be another kind of obscure one, and I'm going back to the medley again. This is our fourth song from the Abbey Road medley. Don't know if you know what I'm going to go with here, but similar to Flying, it's this cool, like it's for me one of the coolest songs to listen to when you're just on a different planet, and that's Sun King from Abbey Road. Coolest bass line, just this calm, chill groove. Best thing to vibe out to. I believe the recording was inspired by a Fleetwood Mac song called Albatross, with all that kind of reverb on the guitar. They start singing in different languages, you know, Mundo, Paparazzi, like all that shit is super cool. So, but Sun King, go put that on when you're just like in a mood to feel good and just chill out and relax. Blast that song, turn up the bass, and listen to Sun King from Abbey Road.
McCartney with Lennon. I'm going with Two of Us. off of Let It Be, easily one of my favorite Beatles songs. I don't know. We're at song 11 here on I Am Sam. Two of Us is Amy Mann. Okay, so that's why. Yeah, so Amy Mann, I was kind of really digging at the time when I got that I Am Sam soundtrack.
It's up there for me too. It would have made it. It would have made my list.
It's round number 12. 12.
Speaking of the aforementioned Let It Be, I'm going to go with possibly the best Beatles song lyrically. So, it's going to be Lennon, as we talked about earlier, just the callback. It's Across the Universe. The lyrics in that song, like I was trying to pick out like what are the best lyrics in that song. Like just listen to these sounds of laughter, shades of life are ringing through my open ears, inciting and inviting me. Limitless, undying love, which shines around me like a million suns. It calls me on and on across the universe. Like one section. Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call me on and on. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox. They tumble blindly as they make their way across the universe. It is a poetry. It's poetry in a song. It rivals the best of Dylan's words. It's really, really strong lyrical piece across the universe from Let It Be. And some more Bunny Abbott.
I love Across the Universe, but I actually like the cover of it by Fiona Apple the best, especially the Let It Be recording of that song that I don't like. I kind of like it a little cleaned up the way that Fiona Apple covered it. But yeah, amazing lyrics, amazing. Everybody sounds great. I just, for something about that recording has always bothered me. Pleasantville was the movie, right? I'm going to go with off of Let It Be Again. I'm going to go with the song I've Got a Feeling. McCartney, Lennon, cool little ditty. Watch the documentary. Go ahead, Jess. Do you have that one? Hi.
Yeah, I do. You know what's really funny is like my 20s and early 30s. I'm like using a different color for you, and I'm using purple to it's just all purple. Like you've taken all my 20s and 30s. All my top 20 is like almost untouched, which is great. So
13th round.
I'm gonna jump out because I wanna take this song. It's another magical mystery tour song. It's another obscure song. It's a song that grew on me over time. Song I didn't really like when I first heard it, and for years and years it's kind of grown on me. It has the clavioline. It's "Baby You're a Rich Man." I'm deaf in one ear, and whenever I have my headphones on and I listen to the Beatles, because it's all stereo, I'm generally getting one track. And so I forget that sometimes I either have to unplug or I have to just hold two speakers to my good ear, which is really annoying. And I was like, man, that bass line is so fucking good. And that what is that sound? And then I looked into it and it was the clavioline. And then I unplugged it and I was like, oh, there's this piano that's a little bit much in there as well too, but it's just so interesting when you break the song down, and wow, I really like that. But after I did that, I've just kind of appreciated the song as a whole, and it's really snuck up on me over time. "Baby You're a Rich Man," Magical Mystery Tour. You keep all your money in a big brown bag inside a zoo. That's what you do.
So I had a really cool teacher in high school, Mr. Sully. Shout out.
Mr. Sully.
He had an amazing stereo, and he let us listen to it once, me and Tristan. And I remember him playing us. I think it was Revolver. He had some first copy on his super stereo, and you can hear the Beatles in different parts talking in the background on the actual LP. It was pretty cool. My next song comes off of Let It Be. Again, I'm going with this time I'm going with Harrison's track "For You Blue," and I always love this song. I always thought it was really cool. I actually thought it was a Harrison solo song when I first heard it. I didn't realize because I had it just in headphones at work.
It's 14th round.
My next song, McCartney visited Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys to preview the album that this song was playing for, and he played the song on piano, and Brian Wilson said him and his wife just broke down and cried because it was so beautiful. And this song is "She's Leaving Home" from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It is it's got this beautiful harp opening, lyrics that were taken straight out of the news about a girl who'd run away. And so she's leaving home. Very high up for me from Sgt. Pepper's.
The next pick is In My Life. So yeah, my next pick comes off of Rubber Soul. And for me, that's like the real game changer. I know Help is arguably like a massive step up, and really Hard Day's Night. Hard Day's Night is freaking awesome. And a great movie too. Rubber Soul for me is like, I really love Rubber Soul, and I love the whole album start to finish. That's the next song I'm taking, In My Life.
Rise and shine, it's 15th round. It's 15th round.
I'm gonna go with another Paul song next, off of the White Album, Blackbird. Rosa Parks-esque, a song about that time, and Blackbird singing to the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. We're only waiting for this moment to arise. Blackbird is a beautiful, beautiful song, and just the beautiful guitar. And I was really fortunate to get to see Paul twice. Just absolutely incredible. And he played Blackbird, and it was so incredibly special to hear him. That was pretty special. So Blackbird off the White Album.
And really long shows, right?
3 hours long.
My next pick comes off of this album. More importantly for me, comes off of my favorite movie soundtrack of all time. Actually, off of my favorite movie soundtrack of all time, which is Rain Man, which is a weird one. I'm telling you, I love the vibes on this. I used to always watch the intro to Rain Man with Aiko Aiko as a kid. I love Rain Man, but the song from it on here is I Saw Her Standing There, which is one of their first hits, and my favorite song off of their debut album, Please Please Me. It jams. It's kind of a toss up for me between this and Twist and Shout, honestly, because I really love that too. And when John wails in Twist and Shout, that's incredible. McCartney in this one is incredible too. Such a rocker.
16th round. 16th round.
Next one for me, another Paul song from Revolver, Here, There, and Everywhere. I believe it's Lennon's favorite McCartney song, or one of Lennon's favorite McCartney songs. Here, There, and Everywhere who is more prolific in this world than Paul McCartney? Who? Like, there isn't anybody. He is the guy, and I'll argue that to the death. He is the guy, and Here, There, Everywhere is a representation of that. Beautiful song.
Well, my next pick comes off of Revolver as well. So I'm going with Eleanor Rigby. I'm a massive Ween fan, and something about Ween is that they go off in different tangents and directions, and they do all these little tricks with the recordings, and it's weird and it's goofy and it's funny. You cannot listen to a Beatles album and tell me that all those things don't exist on every one of their albums, because they do. Eleanor Rigby is so cool for me. I love just when people go in different directions. That's why I love Stanley Kubrick, because there's nothing like consistent about the story structure or whatever. Like, takes that and throws it out the window. I love Ween because whatever you think the band's supposed to be, they just take that and they throw it out the window. It's just about having fun and playing music. I feel like the Beatles, when they're at their best, were the same thing. Creative, nothing holding you back. The fact that they stopped touring and they decided to record these things in the studio is a big deal. And it's a big part of what makes the Beatles great too, is that they didn't have to perform these songs, right? These are studio albums. It's amazing to see guys like Ween and Pink Floyd and stuff like that who can take something from the studio that sounds as crazy as that and make it actually work on stage. Beatles never had to do that. They're lucky they didn't have to. They couldn't really on a lot of these things, because you just have a million layers, right? Unless you have a giant orchestra on every track. Anyways, Eleanor Rigby, original, beautiful song, and everybody knows that.
Grown up song too. Like, if you think about like Paul McCartney in 65 or 66 or whatever that is, like, he's 23 years old.
Round 17. Round 17.
Next for me is maybe Harrison's masterpiece off of Abbey Road. It's Something.
His masterpiece has already been taken.
Well, he's got a few masterpieces.
Something's amazing.
Something is amazing. I think it was Frank Sinatra that said it was the greatest love song ever written by Lennon and McCartney. He didn't even know that was George Harrison that wrote that song. Something was beautiful.
Really? I've never heard that. That's cool.
Yeah. My favorite Lennon McCartney love song or something like that. Yeah. So Something, George Harrison from Abbey Road, maybe his masterpiece, arguably. There's a few other contenders there, but it's certainly up there. It's a beautiful piece of music.
I love his voice. It's so soft and unique, and you can tell it's him right away every time. He's got a unique tone. That's just a crazy thing to have as the third singer in a band. I like Ringo singing too. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I think he's a good singer, and he's just such a cool guy that guy could do no wrong. And best friends with Harry Nilsson. What does that say?
Yes.
You're obviously an all-star. Man, I'm like getting the greatest hits here is what is happening, unfortunately. Anyways, next up for me, I love it. I don't care what anybody says. It's off the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The song is When I'm 64. The classic Paul McCartney sort of little noodling around and just having fun on the piano. This one for me, it was just the catchiest song when I was first listening to the Beatles. I love the whole concept. And I remember the day that Paul McCartney did turn 64 too. It was all over the radio. They're playing this song all day long. Go ahead, Jess.
What year was that? That would have been
2006.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 2006. I remember I was driving to, work in Sydney, British Columbia, Canada.
18th round. 18th round.
Next song for me is going to be off Hard Day's Night. Bright are the stars that shine, dark is the sky. I know this love of mine will never die. And I love her. And I love her off of Hard Day's Night. McCartney love song. Like and you brought up earlier the Beatles lullabies. It was like rockabye, shout out rockabye, something like that. Is that what it is?
I think you're right. Yeah, it's like rock and roll lullabies or something like that.
Yeah. I did the same thing with my son, and it was all the Beatles. Lots of classic like Bowie and the Stones and Pink Floyd and everybody too. But the Beatles versions, I was playing those a lot too, and that one was one I kept going to for that one, and I love her.
My next pick comes off of the Magical Mystery Tour. For me, I'm going with I Am the Walrus. There's certain people that don't like it. Who gives a shit? This is about us and what I'm bringing to my desert island. And what does it remind me of? It reminds me of my favorite show growing up, The Wonder Years. And there's a lot of talk about this in a few different episodes. One of my very favorite episodes of The Wonder Years, though, is the episode where where Kevin and Winnie go on a double date with two other people, and he's got kind of the bimbo and she's got the dummy, and he's the guy that says that's the kind of thing you'll never forget forever. And I've said that to people anytime somebody says something stupid. My entire life, I'll say, that's the kind of thing you'll never forget forever. And that's from that episode. But also they're talking about the walrus and who the walrus is and stuff like that. Anyways, shout out to Wonder Years, which my son is watching earlier today, season 4. But that episode, I believe, is in season maybe 4. It's either 4 or 5. Go ahead, Jess.
Round 19. Round 19.
And as we know from earlier, from the Glass Onion, the Walrus is Paul. Going with the album Beatles for Sale for this next one. Really early stuff. Probably my favorite of all the earlier songs. I'll Follow the Sun. Paul again too. Like you can clearly see, and I think like if you watch the Nilsson podcast, you'll see like how easy it was for me to become a Nilsson fan very quickly, and I'm obsessed now. Like I haven't stopped listening to Nilsson. I can't stop. It's just that good. And it's so weird because Nilsson is John, but his music is Paul. Like he's just melodically. And so a song like this too, I'll Follow the Sun, it's another song that you could probably hear Nilsson doing, early Nilsson anyways, aerial ballet Nilsson, I could see him doing I'll Follow the Sun. Beatles for Sale.
The next song I'm going with, this is kind of controversial and it's probably not on your list anywhere near the top, but I'm going off the White Album, Revolution 1. I love Revolution 1, always have. Actually, not always have. I only knew the original Revolution up until probably I was 20. And then, then when I got into the Beatles, I loved Revolution 1. It was mind-blowing to me. I was like, shit, why is Revolution so good all of a sudden? Because the one that's on the radio, like the big one, is great. Don't get me wrong. Revolution 1's got some guts to it. I love it.
Heads up, round number 20. Round number 20.
My next song is a song about a dog. I'm obsessed with my dog, and so I can relate to Paul on this song. It's another Paul song. It's off the White Album. It's Martha, My Dear, and it's about Paul's sheepdog, Martha. Can you just imagine? Hold your head up, you silly girl. Look what you've done. The love that you have for your dog. And I think there's more to it. I think it has, something to do with Jane Asher and all that as well too. But, you see all those iconic photos with him and his giant sheepdog, Martha. And it makes me love him so much more that he loves his dog that much that he wrote a song about it. And I'm so obviously in love with my own Bernese Mountain Dog, Buckley. And so I can just relate to people that love their dogs. Shout out people who really love their dogs, which is a lot of you if you're listening to this. Martha, my dear, fucking cool song.
Jesse almost likes dogs as much as me. For the people that are
I
going to
like
vote
my dog more than you, 100%.
who the
100%.
playlist, my dog. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You got your dog's named after Jeff Buckley.
My dog's named after Jeff Buckley. Yeah.
Mine's named after Pink Floyd and Lloyd Christmas, the character from Christmas. Anyways,
Yeah, I wanted to name my dog McCartney. I actually did, and I got vetoed on that one. But I got Buckley. I got Buckley in there. I got Jeff Buckley. So
Martha, my dear was my next pick. So good one. Okay, my next pick, comes off of the White album. I'm going with the opener, Back in the USSR. I've heard it a lot, and I thought about maybe not picking it just because of Radio Roadkill. It's so cool. And it's kind of like a play on the Beach Boys and, like some of the other music going on at that time. Chuck Berry, I think, was kind of a bit of a nod to him too. Hide Your Love Away was kind of like, a Bob Dylan thing, almost of a tip of the cap to some people and things like that. And that's what this one kind of is. And it's really fun and very original. And I love the way that Paul sounds when he sings. Back in the USSR, that accent sounds great in this song.
Round 21.
Next song for me is off of Revolver. We talked a lot about how the Beatles kind of transition to greatness started maybe with Help, kind of. Rubber Soul was kind of the first real step, but it wasn't until Revolver that they had a song that was just completely fucking batshit different than they've done with anything. And that's Tomorrow Never Knows from Revolver. And like, if you just look at any other songs, like if you're going from, songs like Michelle, and I'm looking through whatever off of Rubber Soul, and then you get to Tomorrow Never Knows, where they have all the different inspirations and obviously drugs have really come into the forefront here. Turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. All the different sounds that are coming through the speaker at the same time in the song. It's chaotic. It's beautiful. It's not dying. It's meditative. It's all these different things all at once. It's lay down all your thoughts, surrender to the void. It's this really heavy song, and it's really their first stab at going out of the box. And like, I bet you there was a lot of nerves from Epstein, all these other people when this came out, because they were probably like, oh my God, like this is, like, what are people going to think when this comes out? Because it is just so gnarly. Tomorrow Never Knows, and all credit to Lennon on that one.
All those tape loops too. It's just so cool. A one-off, really. And this next song too is kind of a one-off. It comes off of Abbey Road. It's the opening ditty. It's Come Together. What movie does Come Together remind me of, Jesse? It was directed by Robert De Niro.
Oh, Bronx Tale?
Bronx Tale. So this song reminds me of Bronx Tale.
She doesn't lift that button.
Yeah. You got to give it the test. What, the
test.
Mario test?
He doesn't lift that button. What you see is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. You get 3 great women in your lifetime. The door test. When he's coming around the back, he jumps up in the air. That part's like kind of cheesy, but the rest of the show is really good. Come Together, I think it's Ringo's favorite Beatles song, and I think he said that on the Colbert questionnaire. So shout out to Stephen Colbert.
The drums are so cool on this track too. Like, they're fucking so cool. Yeah.
Sound incredible, but just the whole thing, just the whole recording, man. The vocals are incredible. The whole thing is falls to the wall, man. The Lennon sounds so cool on this. Is one of my favorite Lennon, obviously, vocals, and it's a huge song. There's nothing you need to know from me about Come Together. So that's my next pick.
Round 22.
Next song for me, we touched on it earlier. It's kind of like the accompaniment to Strawberry Fields. It's from Magical Mystery Tour. It was originally recorded for Sgt. Pepper, but was released as the B-side to Strawberry Fields Forever, and that is Penny Lane. That's Paul's take on growing up in Liverpool. The only thing I wrote down for this one was John's contribution was Penny Lane is in my ears, in my eyes, a 4 of fish and finger pies, which is pretty naughty, you know.
Uh-huh.
And they slipped that in there, you know, in this whimsical childhood youthful tale that Paul put in there. It almost seems out of place. It's very clearly a John contribution.
The next song, which I don't think Jesse really likes, probably won't make his list anyways.
I'll say Obada.
I'm going off of Abbey Road. I'm going with Ringo Starr's Octopus's Garden.
I love that song. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, when I'm on my desert island, hey, how cool. And you can watch how he wrote that song on every single interview he's ever done because he talks about it pretty much every time. Plus, you can watch him and George putting it together on Peter Jackson's pretty incredible documentary. And that moves it up a notch too, because that documentary made, for me, the biggest thing that happened for me watching it was I became a huge Ringo fan. That guy is so friggin' cool.
Yeah, and just he's guy.
Cool.
He's so supportive. He's just the guy. He's just the other three had just such strong egos. He was just the supportive guy in the background, you know.
He was perfect. He was the perfect fit, and they couldn't go on without him.
Yeah,
you know. And then, anyways, they all love Ringo, and that's why he worked with everybody going forward too. Like he's the best.
2-3 round 23. 2-3 round 23.
The next is, I haven't talked about this yet before, but this is very clearly George Harrison's masterpiece. This next, I said this 3 times. This is off the White Album. It's While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and obviously a beautiful song. And it's Eric Clapton, right? Uncredited. It's Eric Clapton playing incredible guitar throughout, incredible solos. A beautiful George Harrison song, While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Good one.
Would you know what? That it's probably his masterpiece?
No.
Okay.
I think that you're not alone in saying that. And for good reason. I do want to say something about the Prince performance at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame of this song. Everybody I know has sent me at one point or another in my life, on my phone, whatever. As soon as somebody discovers it, they want to share it with me. I think that every other Prince guitar solo I've ever seen was better. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't think that that's like even close. Like Prince is so much better. It's what it is that people watch that who've never seen Prince play guitar before, and they go, "Oh wow, this guy can really play." Watch Prince at Coachella doing Radiohead's "Creep." Watch Prince play Cream on the acoustic guitar. I think it's way better, personally. Anyways, that's what I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah, it's just everybody's seen that clip for sure. Yeah,
it's a great song.
Goes off too. He kind of takes over the thing too. You know, like everybody's doing something, but he just kind of takes over. So
this is and this is a song that I loved before I knew it was a Beatles song. Years ago as a teenager. Actually, I thought it was an Eric Clapton song. Thanks Napster for screwing me up. My next pick comes off of Let It Be, and it's the track Dig a Pony. I think that they actually use the audio from the rooftop on Dig a Pony. I could be wrong with that, but anyways, I think it actually says that, like, audio actually used on the track when you're watching that doc.
This is the cut that's used or whatever. This is the take that's used or something. Yeah.
When you could first download videos, the first one I ever downloaded was Beatles Rooftop Concert. So I've been watching that for years and years. I still have the original burnt CD that I made of it, and Dig a Pony is on it, and I like it. And George wearing that jacket. I remember I never knew that was like his girlfriend's jacket or anything like that either until very recently. It might have even been you that told me that. It was
somebody. Didn't want to be up there on that roof. George is like, fuck this shit. I don't want to.
I thought that was his jacket. I was like, wow, George is very like Jimi Hendrix here. Like, that's pretty wild, man. Anyways, okay, go ahead.
Bummer. I'm running out of picks. That was in my 30s.
24th round.
The next one for me is going to be one of my more obscure picks. It's from Magical Mystery Tour. It is a super weird, creepy, out there song that grew on me over time. It is a George Harrison song. It is Blue Jay Way. That's not a song that you can listen to one time and instantly like it has to grow on you, I think, because it is just so weird and creepy. Like in the movie too, like that whole section is just so creepy. It's scary. It's almost like a horror movie kind of thing. I read recently that he wrote it just like in the Hollywood Hills at a friend's house, and he was just like sitting on the guitar, and it just kind of came to him, sitting on the piano, and it just kind of came to him while he was waiting, like an hour or two while somebody was late. It grows on me every day. Like if we're doing this next year, it might even be like in my top 20. Really cool song, Blue Jay Way.
Next up, I'm going to go with the Beatles from Let It Be, but I'm going again with Let It Be from Let It Be. I quite like it. I don't know what to say. It's another McCartney classic. Let It Be.
It's amazing. It's one of those ones too
It's
where
epic.
It's played a lot, right? Like similar
time.
to me back in the US.
Half of my list.
Round number 25. Round number 25.
I didn't realize this, but I'm gonna go with our fifth song off of the medley from Happy Road. This is why it was so important, where I was like begging you, I was like, please don't make the medley one thing.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna take away this many songs. And it's the end. The end. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. It is a really cool song with different elements to it, and like the dueling guitar solos, like all three of them just like start trading off and just like doing these guitar solos. Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison are all just like go, and they're all doing their own version, as that thing kicks off. Obviously, it was released before Let It Be, but it was the last thing that they recorded. It was how that fucking band ended, and they ended on top, and that album ends, not counting Her Majesty, but with the end, the most beautiful sign off that you could possibly do to the greatest band of all time, the end, Abbey Road. Call out to the sketch from Saturday Night Live with Chris Farley, Paul McCartney, and Chris Farley's just sitting there, just so dying, sitting next to Paul McCartney, and he's like, so hey, Paul, is it true that when you said in the end the love you take is equal to the love you make? And Paul's like, yeah, of course. And he's just like, like classic Christmas. Awesome.
Yeah.
He fucks up afterwards and gets so mad at himself, but only the way that Chris Farley can pull that off.
I remember teaching my son who Chris Farley was, and that's what I show him first.
Cool.
Was that I love that. That's like one of the ultimate Chris Farley moments for me, was that scene. Off of Revolver, I don't think you've taken it yet. I'm going to take I'm Only Sleeping off Revolver. When I wake up early in the morning, very beautiful, pretty song, and I'm going to love it on my islands when I'm sleeping. I'm only sleeping. Let me lay in bed. That was what it was about. It's just a lazy person likes to lay in bed. Mm-hmm. I dig it.
Round 26. Round 26.
My next song, the song that came to him in a dream, Scrambled Eggs, originally called Scrambled Eggs, Yesterday from Help, and it is the most covered song of all time, any artist ever. On a previous job, I was doing music trivia on board a cruise ship, and it came down to the last question.
I'll be right back.
And our team, well, I'll say that for you then.
I am up next. We're almost there. Next up, I'm going to go off of Let It Be, and I'm going to take Get Back. He's a great singer, that McCartney cat.
That McCartney, the best song to ever mention Tucson, Arizona, too, right?
Round number 27. Round number 27.
This song, for me, my next song, used to be one of my favorite Beatles songs. I still love it, but it's just kind of fallen over the years. It's from Rubber Soul. It is a Lennon song. Norwegian Wood, This Bird Has Flown. One of those songs from Rubber Soul that showed their maturity and like their songwriting maturity. I think that was like, if you take that versus Help, which I love, Help is just a lot more about like being in love and getting your heart broken still kind of that kind of thing. And then Norwegian Wood is like, just talking about deeper shit within relationships or things that are happening between men and women and things like that. This Bird Had Flown.
Next, I'm going to go with off of the Magical Mystery Tour, the song that John wrote in a night, and they did live on television. And the song is All You Need Is Love, the anthem of the summer of 1967, I believe, and the summer of love. You either love this song or you don't. It's kind of one of those where it comes on, you're like, ugh, here we go again, or whatever. I get into it every single time. All You Need Is Love would have been a lot higher. I just sort of used some Jedi mind tricks, realized that Jesse wasn't going to take it earlier. So
all the songs that I had prepared for today are all gone now. I'm literally digging into my Spotify list here.
Round number 28. Round number 28.
My next song is from With the Beatles. It's All My Lovin'. I gravitate towards the Paul songs. All My Lovin'.
So next up, Off of A Hard Day's Night, I'm going with the track Sentimental Favorite. For me, made me pick this guitar back up and start playing guitar in 2002. The song is I Should Have Known Better from Hard Day's Night. It takes a bit to figure out the rhythm when you're learning guitar. Props to Clint again for teaching me the song on this guitar. Thank you.
Great harmonica on that song as well, too, to kick things off.
29th pick. 29th pick.
You're not going to like this pick. We finally got there. It was far enough away. You forced my hand. I could have not picked it, Joe, but you picked too many of my songs. I'm going Hey Bulldog off of Yellow Submarine. And it's a really good song. Like, I don't know why. Once again, it's another fucking awesome fucking bass line from Paul. It's really raw. McCartney Lennon as well too. That Lennon is kind of going off. You can't talk to me. Like, he's just going off. He's got some great lyrics in there. Some kind of solitude is measured out in you. You think you know me, but you haven't got a clue. Hey Bulldog is a great song. I don't know why you don't like this song, but it's a fucking great song.
I'll show you my list. It was my next pick. So
it was your next pick. So you were you just like,
it was my next pick.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of mind games and a little bit of like saying that to you and then kind of going back and listening to it again and going like,
yeah, no, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's actually a lot better than I'm giving it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take the title track for Magical Mystery Tour, the song Magical Mystery Tour, for my 29th pick to my Desert Island.
So like there's only 2 songs left that is going to make it here. What song? Because I have my pick, but I'm looking ahead. I'm like, what song's not going to make it? I'm bummed out.
Last pick 30. Last pick 30.
My last pick is going to have to be, it's a single. This pick is Paperback Writer. Paperback Writer, another Paul song. I'm so Paul heavy at this point. I think I like broke down in my top 30. So I had to go 10 long after that. But my Beatle count was I had 12 McCartneys, 11 Lennons, 4 Harrisons, 2 kind of, you can't really, like A Day in a Life, you can't really pick one or the other, and then 1 all Beatles. If we're counting my top 40, it's probably weighted more McCartney after that because, Paperback Writer, All My Lovin', Yesterday, Mother Nature's Son was on there. Paperback Writer. My last one. Don't make it a bad one.
I want to mention Rocky Raccoon just because it is one of my favorite Beatles songs. It's also like one of those sad memory kind of songs too. So that's why it doesn't make my list. I think otherwise I would definitely want something like that with like a tail or, like it's a different track. It's cool.
Let's hit a couple of those then. Like before you reveal your last one, like let's talk about a couple because like Rocky Raccoon reminds me of Ashley Hinton. I remember like meeting up with her in Vancouver and getting wasted and going singing. I sang that song karaoke at an Asian bar, and all these Chinese people were like getting up and dancing with me, and while I was singing Rocky Raccoon. I remember during our theater years, somebody was always on acoustic guitar singing Rocky Raccoon. I love Rocky Raccoon too.
Helter Skelter is another one that kind of I just don't like Helter Skelter, and Glass Onion is one that I kind of lump in with Helter Skelter that as much as some people seem to. What do you think of those songs?
Mick Jagger that said Paul or the Beatles couldn't do like a heavy song, and Paul was like, "Fuck you, I can't," and then went and wrote heavy Helter Skelter, and it was like, like one of the heavier things at that time, and it was like I can do fucking anything. Helter Skelter, I think that's Tarantino's favorite Beatles song too, and obviously there's the the Manson connections and everything to that. It's a very interesting song.
Michelle My Belle, I like.
We haven't even brought up Hey Jude is not here either.
Oh yeah, that was a song I was going to bring up. That's the song that I don't like.
I mean I understand that it's kind of like Let It Be.
It's a great song. I'll give it. I get that
song. And like once again, I've seen McCartney twice now, and he ends on that. I think I can't remember, or one of them before like the encore or something like that, and it just goes on and on. But like the whole crowd is fucking na-na-na-na-ing, and it's it's so cool. And I also just love the story that he wrote that for Julian Lennon because he saw what was going on with him during John's divorce with Cynthia, and how fucking cool is it that John's partner is playing like writes a fucking song. It was Hey Jules before it was Hey Jude for your fucking best friend, your musician buddy's son.
The one that was closest for second was the Sgt. Pepper's title track as well. I actually really like that. And the cool thing about that song was that the day after Sgt. Pepper's, or maybe the day of, was released, the Beatles went and watched Jimi Hendrix, and or it had been out for like a weekend or whatever,
Yes.
and Jimi Hendrix opened with
Yes.
Sgt. Pepper's in
Yes.
front of them, and then the Beatles looked at each other and said, like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
We just worked on that for a year. The last song I'm going with on my desert island, this one goes out to Ox. This one is Fixing a Hole. Yeah, one of her favorite songs and means a lot to me. Fixing a Hole for you, Ox.
Well, we did it 60 with a shitload of honorable mentions.
Yeah, so that's it. That's our Desert Island playlist. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and remember to put some shit in the comments there. It'll be super duper long. Desert Island Deathmatch. Desert Island Deathmatch. Okay, now it's time for Desert Island Deathmatch. This is where we're getting rid of some picks to make a master list. Jesse and I both got to live on the same island. It's a big list because it's the Beatles. We got to shave this list to 60 down to 50. So we're both deleting 5 songs. Let's see if today we delete one of our own songs. I doubt it. Or if we just delete 5 of the other guys' songs and move on and go to bed. Jesse, you get the first axe. You get to knock off a pick first. Which pick are you going with?
The first song I'm cutting is All You Need Is Love.
Okay, my first one I'm going to get rid of off of Jesse's list is Yesterday.
I'm going to get rid of Back in the USSR, I think.
Next up, I'm going to go with The End. I can still remember the line when I'm there, so it'll be fine because it's really about that final line that he does it for me.
And the guitar solos that I talked about in detail, but it's okay. Sincere apologies to your lovely wife. It's going to be Fixing a Hole. It is probably my least favorite song on Sgt. Pepper's. Sgt. Pepper's, right?
Yeah. Okay. Next song that we're getting rid of off of our joint Desert Island Deathmatch playlist here. I'm going with I'll Follow the Sun.
The next one for me is the song that I fucked up on which album it was earlier. Should Have Known Better. I should have known better. And now that song's gone.
That's a sentimental favorite for me. So I totally get that too. Next one I'm going with is She's Leaving Home. She's Leaving Home, not coming to our desert island. But so far you're doing great on your side there. So thank you.
Yeah, the last one you probably aren't not gonna like because I like the other version better. Revolution 1.
Do you really?
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I think I might be kind of lonely on that opinion. Last one I'm knocking off of Jesse's list for our joint desert island, get us down to 50 strong. Baby, You're a Rich Man. Baby, You're a Rich Man. It's not.
You don't like the Claveline?
It's just not my favorite song.
The groovy bass line.
We're not going to teach anybody anything. And we love
learn nothing about the Beatles that you didn't already know. I apologize. I'm not a Beatles expert. I just love them. They're my favorite band, but I'm not an expert.
Thanks again for being doing this, Jesse. Obviously, huge respect to the Beatles, all 4 of them. Also, I don't like the Let It Be, the Phil Spector thing. George Martin is their producer, who's responsible for a ton of
so underrated
what the Beatles did and played on quite a few of the tracks. Also, Billy Preston came in and those Get Back sessions on that amazing documentary by Peter Jackson. It's on Disney Plus and it's incredible. I've watched it a few times now and it's just mind-blowingly good. Yeah, Billy Preston is amazing and he brings so much to those last 2 albums. Maxwell Silver Hammer was a song I didn't talk about that I actually really love. And that was really close to making.
All I think about is the roadie Mal and the just fucking hitting the thing or whatever, and then hearing about how much the other 3 hated recording it because Paul made them do it so many times.
I love that song. I'm glad Paul made him do it. Sorry, I'm a little low on facts, high on opinions. We'll catch you on the next one. And remember to vote in the comments. Thanks, Jesse. We out.
Submerged at sea, days and weeks at a time. 96 million pounds of steel go swimming by. I see your eyes surveying in the mirror on the tide. Am I overstating this need to make it right? 'Cause I